Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about the book The World Bank, a Critical Primer, written by the economist Eric Toussaint. It is originally published in the year of 1987. There are several books which talks about economics and polity, and why we have chosen this book very particularly. There are reasons for it. The current economic political processes are not transparent, and the engineering of the political economic processes and the directives behind it and whose interest it is representing, all these things are complicated and obscured by many factors, and they are not the same as they appear to be. So only when we do an extensive research on each aspects of it, we get to know about the actuality of it. And Eric Toussaint did it brilliantly. He researched more than 15,000 documents in the World Bank archives, and there are many key findings that he compiled together in this book, which is rare to come across in other books. So it is a very important book and everyone has to read it. When we say World Bank, we may think that according to mainstream media, we think that the World Bank is created for abolishing poverty from third world countries and bringing development in those countries. But is it the objective for which the World Bank is created? The World Bank is, maybe we may think that the World Bank is created for stabilizing the world economy. But it doesn't say it is one of the important instruments by which America and its allied countries implement their foreign policy. The European countries and their economies were devastated by the Second World War. And the main objective for creating the World Bank is to reconstruct their economies in the Europe. The World Bank is not at all concerned about abolishing poverty or bringing development in the third world countries at that time. It is not in their agenda. These are all later additions. We will come to that later. And its second objective, which was added later, is and its second objective, which was added later, is to improve the economic conditions of the countries under the colonial rule in the south. But World Bank helped only the colonial powers like Britain, France, Belgium. They helped them to exploit the resources of the third world countries, but the liability of repaying the debts taken by the colonial powers are imposed on the colonies. For example, the African countries like Congo are asked to repay the debt taken by France and Belgium. From the start, the activities of World Bank are very unethical and undemocratic. The 1949 Chinese Revolution cautioned the US leaders, and it made them to incorporate a low growth, low development dimension into the strategies in order to avoid the spread of communist ideas and socialist contagions in other areas. Since its inception, the World Bank's policies have been developed in the context of Cold War and the interest of United States, and only United States has the highest veto power in the World Bank. Its voting share is 16.5%. In order to implement a decision or an initiative, we had to have 85% consensus in the World Bank voting. But US has 16.5% vote sharing. That means anything which is against the interests of United States cannot be implemented in the World Bank. So any democratic decision making is not possible in the World Bank. Though the World Bank was created primarily for the reconstruction of countries devastated by the Second World War, The US wanted to implement this plan in the name of Marshall Plan so that it can lead the world economy and can finance only according to its interest. There was disagreements in deciding where the headquarters of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund to be located. The US Treasury wanted the headquarters to be located nearby in order to exert influence in Washington. Many foreign delegates want the headquarters to be away from the US government, and eventually it can be brought closer to United Nations system. British economist John Maynard Keynes said it deliberately. He asked the headquarters of the World Bank and IMF to be kept away from the influence of the US Congress and the embassies. In fact, Keynes tried to bring the headquarters to London. US Treasury Secretary Henry Mercantile wanted the headquarters to be away from the Treasury and Wall Street. But because of that, Mercantile and Harry White, Emilio Collado, these three people are expelled from World Bank by the pressure given by Wall Street. So from 1947 itself, the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank and the IMF came under the dual supervision of US Treasury and Wall Street. Keynes also gave another proposal. He suggested that the World Bank directors can work as part-time employees so that they can also work for their countries. Keynes' proposal was rejected. Only the US Treasury proposal was implemented. The bank directors are made permanent residents of Washington. Finally, it becomes like White House is just a 5 minutes walk from the headquarters of both IMF and World Bank. 7 of the 10 presidents at the World Bank from 1946 came directly from the business world, and the World Bank leadership has close nexus with the American political power and the Wall Street business circles. So the decisions of the World Bank are often made by the United States based on its influence even before the voting process of its member countries. There was a Marshall Plan for the reconstruction of European countries, but there was no such plan for third world countries. So the third world countries demanded for the creation of a special UN agency called the Sanfed so that they can get financial help from that organization, and they demanded for one country, one voting system. And the developed countries are totally against this initiative. So they put an end to this initiative. The United States, as an alternative to this Sanfed program, the United States created International Finance Corporation in 1956. But that agency only gave loans only to the private sector, but it failed to satisfy the requirements of the developing countries. The campaign in favor of the developing countries initiative of Sanfed got strengthened, and the third world countries coordinate among themselves for the creation of that special UN agency. But the developed countries are totally against that, as I said earlier. United States proposed the creation of International Developmental Association (IDA) as a branch of the World Bank. But unfortunately, there was a divide in the third world camp. India, which initially supported the Sanfed initiative, later withheld its support. It thought that if it goes along with the interest of United States, it can get favorable treatment from the United States in terms of getting loans. Because of the opportunistic stand taken by India, the Sanfed initiative was put an end. but India benefited from that. In the first year of IDA loans, International Development Association loan, India received 50% of the total loan. In 1950s, United States helped the developed countries with Marshall Plan. Similarly, it also helped countries in strategic locations around the USSR, Soviet Union and China to prevent the spread of communism. Countries such as Taiwan and Korea are benefited because of this. He gave an example. From 1953 to 1961, United States provided more financing to South Korea than the total lending given by World Bank to other developing countries such as India, Pakistan, Mexico, Brazil and Nigeria. United States gave $2,500 million to South Korea. But the World Bank lending to the above said countries are only $2,323. And the same period, United States gave $800 million to Taiwan. Taiwan benefited greatly because of its strategic location near China and Soviet Union. United States provided funding mainly to strategically and economically important middle-income developing countries. So this list include Philippines, Egypt, Pakistan, Turkey, Morocco, Tunisia, Argentina, Indonesia and Brazil. When China became a communist country in 1950, United States and its allies expelled China from the World Bank. They only supported the General Chiang Kai-shek, the opponent of communist regime, and his headquarters was in Taiwan that time. Various strategies were taken by United States to prevent the communist rebellion from spreading to other parts of Asia. In some countries like India, Pakistan, Thailand, Philippines and Indonesia, America directly intervened in the policy making and the decisions of World Bank. In some countries like India, Pakistan, Thailand, Philippines and Indonesia, the United States directly intervened in the World Bank decision making and policy making. In 1956, World Bank created the Economic Development Corporation with the support of Ford and Rockefeller Foundation. This Economic Development Agency offered a 6-month training course to official representatives of the member countries. Between 1957 and 1971, more than 1,300 officers were trained by this agency. Many of them took important positions like Prime Minister and Finance Minister in their respective countries, and this training policy had disturbing implications because they failed to act in the interest of their mother countries. A New York-based International Law Center studied the World Bank policies in Colombia from 1949 to 1972 and concluded that the independent agency created by the World Bank had a profound impact on the political structure, and it undermined the role of the country's social development, political party structure, legislature and judiciary. This discussion will be continued in the second part. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching.